Hey everyone, 안녕하세요. Um, I'm coming at you from my 1 year anniversary from having my stem cell transplant. It's a big milestone. I have even got a doctor's appointment tomorrow with my consultant called the 1 year anniversary. It's just a checkup, really, and hopefully to reduce some of my medication. But it's been a weird week, remembering that this time last year, just before a global pandemic was starting to hit us, I was having chemo, and this time last year, yesterday, Lisa, my sister, was having her stem cells extracted as my donor, and then around this time today, I had those stem cells given to me in the form of a little bag with only 250 milliliters of liquid in it, which was Lisa's stem cells and some blood mixed together, and it literally just went into my Hickman line, and that was it, which you'd think would be a little underwhelming, because when people think of transplants, I guess you think of things like heart, lung, kidney, and that's a big surgery. And you can, like, obviously physically something goes into you, you can see, and I think people can picture. I've had so many people go like, oh, I hope your surgery goes well, and I had to keep going. It's, thank you, it's not a surgery. It's literally like a blood transfusion. But there's a lot of science and a big process behind it and for how it works. But I remember at the time, the nurses who administered it to me and had to stay with me in case I had an allergic reaction and make sure everything went smoothly, were like, this is like a second birthday. This is what we could say to our patients, like, you should celebrate in the years to come. Think of it as a second birthday, which I was like, oh, great. So, soon after Christmas and not that long before my actual birthday. But coming to think about everything that's happened this year and how well, thankfully, the transplant gone, it was a complete success, which should mean hopefully that I shouldn't develop any more abnormalities of my immune system or bone marrow, and hopefully means I shouldn't be going back into hospital every year or so with serious infections because I can't fight them off, and it should hopefully definitely mean that I don't develop leukemia, which is the best news. And I'm hoping, praying, everything that stays that way. But it didn't really feel like a birthday. And I liked the idea of the wording and what it meant of a rebirth day. Like it was a rebirth, a second lease of life. Because that's what it was. In some ways, I'm a 30-something-year-old man, but my blood and my bone marrow is only 1 year old today. It's a baba. It's a new life. It gives me hope for the future, that I'll be able to live a relatively normal life, hopefully. Freer of that fear and pain of being and getting sick and going to hospital, not knowing how long I'll be in there for, or if I'd ever get to leave. So rebirth felt more fitting to me, and so that's what I'm going to call it. It's my rebirth day. Yeah, it's been a weird week. I've been looking back at my kind of Instagram stories and messages and cards and things I found this time last year, and it's been a really strange experience to go back to that place, and those feelings start to come up again. I know a lot of you who have suffered from trauma, particularly PTSD, will know that you're probably quite familiar with that feeling of going back to a place and feeling like you're reliving it, which thankfully after a few therapists I've had, I've better learned how to kind of let those feelings come, but to remind myself that I'm no longer in that place. I'm in a better place, for one, and that I survived. And I did it well, to be honest. Regardless of odds and this past year and the difficulties for everyone. And more isolation, now clocking, what was it, my 19 or so months of some form of lockdown or quarantine. It's also been weird to look back at things that doctors and people were saying to me at the time, before I had my transplant, before I went in for chemo. As you can still see, I'm still regrowing hair, still got some kind of appearances that you kind of maybe associate with chemo, so I'm still obviously in the path of recovery, and it's going to be a while. But there was a time when I was told, and I've talked about this before, where I was given percentage of my life chances. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's overwhelming. There's like a part of your brain that can't fully comprehend what's being said to you. Like, they're talking about all the best and worst case scenarios because it's their job. And your rational part of your brain tries to instantly categorize and sort these things and say, right, that's right. But there's like a part of you that's just like, you're telling me that I might not make it. And I've been given a number, and this number is now stuck in my head. And for me, because of different situations, one, thankfully I was young and relatively fit for someone as not as well as I was. Thank you, Jim. I had some things going for me, and then because of past respiratory illnesses and because of how degraded my immune system was, I had some things going against me, because chemo obviously wipes your blood out, including your immune system, so you're very susceptible to infections. And so I was given the number of 85% chance success and 15% chance failure. And I was like, what does failure mean? As in, like, does that just mean that's quite high odds? Like, does that mean just like the transplant won't succeed as well as we hoped? We might have to do another one or some other treatment. And he was like, no, the 15% is life expectancy. So it's being told there was a 15% chance I could die. Which obviously the flip side is an 85% chance that I could live. But maybe I'm just one of those people, or maybe it's just something that everyone does. Apparently there's a psychological reason we always fixate on the negative. But let's say I was fixating on that 15%. And that was always on my mind in the hospital. So I'm laughing because I'm just remembering how stubborn I was while I was in hospital. I made sure I did some form of exercise, even if it was just stretching, even on my worst days, to make sure I was fit, to keep myself moving, to keep my lungs clear. I got on this old shabby little bike, bless them, they had on the ward. Then they got an upgrade, which was great, although that thing knackered me out. But I made sure I got on it, I made sure I did something. I made sure I ate even when I felt really sick. I made sure I ate even when my throat began to feel raw, like it was on fire because of the chemo I was having, and it kind of breaks down the cells in your throat. So it's like when you have a really bad cold or the flu and your throat's raw, but it's like that, but fortunately constantly. And I pushed through it. And I made sure that 15% didn't come true. And I'm really blessed that I had amazing care in the NHS, and the staff and nurses. Gosh, I had the loveliest of people who were also super compassionate and empathetic, and I'm just very, very, very lucky. And I also had my family who thankfully were able to visit if they were healthy. We all wore masks back then, which seemed odd to people when we went in. Not so much now, I guess. But I'm glad I've come through it. So this milestone is a weird mix for me of feeling happy, relief, excited, sad, a little mournful. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's still because I feel like while I recover, I still see pictures and things of myself from before treatment and before I got sick again. And I look so well, which is funny because they are true that appearances really can be deceiving. Because if you looked at those photos, you'd think I'd look super healthy and fit. And really on the inside, my body was shutting down. My immune system was non-existent practically. Surprised I didn't get sick more, to be honest. So it's a weird day. It's been a weird week. I'm still having ECP treatments. I think I talked about this before for my GVHD, which is kind of a post-treatment symptoms from the stem cells. It's the kind of, shall we say, super active parts of my new immune system now that are just a bit too aggressive with parts of my body. In my case, mostly my eyes, my mouth and skin. Yeah, and that treatment will go on probably for a long time. Hopefully it will reduce in intensity, but that's just something I have to learn to live with. But again, very lucky that I have this treatment that's not available in many places in this country, let alone the world, and wonderful family and staff who support me and help me through it. So I'm gonna spend the rest of the day trying to celebrate, but also to give myself space to feel and cut myself some slack if I start criticizing myself or flipping out or not allowing myself to feel through the process. So I just wanted to come on and give you a quick update to mark this occasion. I know it's been a while, apologies, but I love you lots and thank you for your love and support.